Part 95. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 963. Although I knew you would find a way to break in and chop off my head, the blazing sun, I still underestimated your determination. I didn't expect you two to come in person, so I apologize for not being able to welcome you from afar. Pan Zhen said calmly, without any trace of panic on his face. The surrounding Suanwei soldiers on the left and right solemnly raised their dark and thick Suanqi shields, set up their dark spears, and the Liang crossbowmen behind them had also loaded their weapons. On the other side, Hocus, the reformed warriors and the holy disarmament around La Mocha also raised their heavy god-killing rifles and war blades. The outside world is still fiercely attacking Yungziao Tianting. From time to time, you can see Yungziao Tianting's shield trembling slightly. That is, the shield is resolving the aftermath of the powerful energy attack. Attack. Following Hocus's order, the legion of transformed warriors pulled the trigger, and god-killing armor-piercing bullets shot out from the muzzle. The island holy disarmament army on the side also launched a swift charge, like silver phantoms galloping out. Upon encountering an attack, a force field shield was immediately opened in front of the Suanqi shield in the hands of the Suanwei army, and all attacks, whether they were god-killing armor-piercing projectiles or other attacks, were blocked and deflected. When the enemy's offensive weakened slightly, some gaps were exposed between the tightly closed black shields, and the next moment, the god-killing crossbow bolts shot out. Whether it is the armor on the modified warriors or the elite troops composed of super soldiers like the Holy Disarmament, if they do not dodge in time or knock away these god-killing crossbow bolts, the end will not be good. Being hit by a god-killing crossbow bolt might not mean anything, at least it would just make your body a little healthier. But that was a battlefield. Except for a few 8th generation super warriors who could survive the incoming god-killing crossbow bolts, the surviving super warriors were just consumables in that kind of small melee. As the distance between the two sides quickly approached, the 8th generation super warriors and a large number of 1st generation gods in the coalition also rushed out of the team, like sharp knives, piercing into the Liang formation. Some Liang generals around Delay also left to maintain their formations in various areas of the military formation. However, these weak super warriors disrupted the military formation, and defeat was only a matter of time. In just a few moments, the originally tidy and clean Yungziao Tianting square became tattered, and the bodies of fallen soldiers from the Liang army and the allied forces were strewn all over the ground. As for the main god of the Thunder Blade civilization and the main god of the islanders, they were already in a fight with Delay, and no one dared to approach them for hundreds of meters around. The dazzling blue thunder shattered the foundation of Yungziao Tianting Square, and the blazing white energy arrows went straight towards Delay. Using energy to shatter several energy arrows that were almost solidified under his body, Delay was embarrassed but managed to catch the onslaught of the two civilized gods. Continue to give me a chance to breathe. After Lapan Zhen finished speaking, he shot a giant energy arrow into the sky with the sky bow in his hand, which then exploded into countless miniature arrow-shaped energy bombs and landed on it. In the continuous explosion, Wu Song waved an arc-shaped energy slash from the long sword in his hand and cut through the dust and smoke raised by the explosion. Seeing the thunder wrapped around Hocus' body, he immediately pointed his hand downwards, and a beam of light transformed from the energy of the cold stellar storm suddenly fell down and swallowed Wu Song Kong. But after Wu Song maintained his attack for a short time, a solid energy arrow pierced my chest and exploded, and the starstorm light pillar that descended from the sky also collapsed in an instant. Hocus came to La Panzan's side in a somewhat embarrassed manner, with a small area of the ordinary combat armor underneath him already burned. Anyone can survive the stellar storm unscathed, at least if the Thunderblade stars have such divine body technology. What should I do? Now it's God Lei. If you drag them up like that, sooner or later the troops you bring will be surrounded and annihilated by the Liang army in the Yungziao Heavenly Court. Wusong has been able to support you two for a long time, and the environment outside also limits the opponent's performance. If you miss today, there will be no such good opportunities before. La Panzan wanted to miss that little good opportunity. Delay had already been hit by several arrows from me. His body must have been seriously injured, but it was just holding on weakly. As long as he continues to inflict heavy damage on Delay, the opponent's divine body will recover at the same speed, and then he can kill the opponent. In fact, just as La Panzan expected, Wusong was very reluctant to deal with the close and one-far combination of La Panzan and Haku's. I am the Angel King of the Angel Civilization, possessing the most divine body technology in the entire known universe. Lai Yang's divine body technology can only be said to be wrong among the god-making civilizations. Wusong's goal after procrastinating until now was achieved. Half kneeling, I stood up again, with a smile on my face that had always been calm. It seems that they really made a desperate move that time. All 7 of you came to the heavenly court of Yungxiao. Did you leave any advanced players inside? Then you will be worried. Facing Delay's sudden words, Hocus and La Panzan had question marks on their faces, knowing what Delay's plan was. Seeing this, Wusong put down his hand covering the damaged armor on his chest and said in a somewhat arrogant tone. Are they always afraid of you, Lai Yang, giving birth to a new main god? Today is a good time, let you personally feel the power that they have always been afraid of. Next to a large floating planet far away from the battlefield in the Yungxiao Heavenly Court, in a large blazing sun shuttle boat, an 18-year-old white-haired man was curiously looking at everything around him. The little male god, he will announce his birth to the entire universe in a moment. Please be sure to forget the words of General Wusong. Little craftsman Lai Yang said cautiously, fearing that the well-versed male god who had just come out of the training room would burn himself to ashes. It's okay to worry, you know what to do. While Reina was speaking, she reached out her hand and carefully touched the metal decoration placed under the metal table behind her. As a result, Daxon deformed it after touching it. Seeing this, Reina looked at her hands in confusion. All your memories, including your understanding of the world, were instilled in your mind by the Tiandao Tower. That leads to some problems with your perception of things, especially regarding control of your body, and everything around you feels strong. It is obvious that the door will be pulled up with or without force, and it will be broken into pieces if it is tried to take something. Goddess Lina, General Wusong has sent a signal. Please forgive me for continuing to accompany him back. Is it in the way? Is it just to release my own power? That's super complicated. After hearing this, Mokina stood up and walked towards the door of the shuttle boat. She stepped out of the shuttle boat alone and stepped under a single aircraft. With a thought, the aircraft flew away with you thinking about the battlefield between the coalition forces and Yungxiaoding. The coalition forces that were besieging Yungxiaoshan soon discovered that Mokina was an unexpected guest, but they didn't care. The several beams of light that struck were all ablated by a circle of orange-red energy field that appeared and disappeared around Mokina. Seeing that the distance difference was small, Mokina followed the instructions of the person who claimed to be Wusong, connected to the nearest star, and then released all her energy. In an instant, a glimmer of light appeared in the universe, just like the dawn of dawn, but it was not cool. On the contrary, it was scorching cold and bone-crushing. The terrifying solar storm centered on Mokina and spread to the surrounding areas until it covered the entire small area of the universe. Cover. The combined fleets of Thunderblade and Gulans and the sky are surrounded by raging solar storms. But the same thing is that Yungxiao Tianting still stands firmly outside in the solar storm, but the coalition battleships are the same. The shield weakness of each battleship decreases in a branch line. Before the shield is overloaded, the raging solar storm destroys the hull armor and retreats into the interior of the battleship, vaporizing and melting all members into a puddle of ashes. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 964. When the light like the dawn slowly dissipated, revealing the girl with black hair floating slightly behind her in the center, the surrounding coalition fleets that were still attacking Yangtze Ocean fell into silence. The few surviving super warriors inside the battleship looked at the few extra ash on the ground around them with horrified expressions. Just now, their companions and superiors were burned alive to ashes in front of them, without any exception. And if they hadn't had the bodies of super warriors to withstand the aftermath of the stellar storm that was scurrying inside the ship, they would have ended up in the same fate as them. Dilana held her heaving chest. She felt very tired, as if her strength had been drained, but this feeling was fading quickly. "Goddess, how are you now? Is there anything uncomfortable?" Master Liang's excited voice sounded in the communication. "I'm fine. I might as well say I'm in better shape than ever." Feeling the rapidly recovering energy in her body, Dilana felt like a fire was burning in her heart, and she wanted to find a target to vent her anger to. "That's good. According to General Pan Zhen's plan, Goddess, if you are in good condition, please arrive at the Yangtze Heavenly Court to deter our enemies from the Liang." Master Liang is the scientific researcher responsible for maintaining and monitoring Dilana's divine body, and is also Pan Zhen's designated microphone. Through the equipment in the shuttle boat, he found that Dilana's divine body was very stable and had not been damaged by the use of the star drive just now, so he made that suggestion. "Tell you the location and what you want to burn now." Chiudina's pupils glowed like the sun, and the orange-red energy field around her body faded in and out under control. In the heaven of Yangtze, watching the star storm gradually disappearing from the inner world, Hocus and Lamoka looked normal and ugly. If they were not mistaken, this was just a star storm caused by star drive technology. Moreover, this driving method is obviously achieved by using some kind of equipment, but we may not find it out after we come here, because the size of such equipment is usually very small. And there are only gods like us who can hide from our reconnaissance troops and sneak into the battlefield quietly. Thinking of that, something stirred in our hearts, and we unanimously thought of the possibility that this was the birth of the sun god family. "See, this is the power of your Liang civilization, Lord God. Their army is worth mentioning in front of the sun god." Delay finally felt proud at that time. "I have been walking on thin ice for nearly 10,000 years, so I have to look back and look forward in everything I do. Today, I can finally release the accumulated depression in my heart, and let those civilizations that dare to challenge the blazing sun see what a walking cosmic disaster is, that is, the sun god of the blazing sun." At that moment, an orange-red stream of light passed through the shield of the Yangtze Heavenly Palace and landed behind Delay. Along with the energy aftermath of the cold low energy that suddenly spread, everyone present felt that the space was happening at that moment. Inexplicable changes. As Yangtze's dust and smoke dispersed, a slender figure stood up straight in a hurry. "I saw that you were wearing silver-white armor with matte treatment on the surface, and a bright lining on the inside. There was no red skirt hanging on the front skirt, which made the originally solemn armor lose a touch of life. Paired with the long white hair that hangs down and the family-like face on it, the whole thing gives people a heroic feeling." The person who came was none other than Panjena, who had gone to change into a suit of armor. You turned around and looked around, and found that Delay was the only one you knew, so you asked directly. "Does that mean there are no enemies? Where are the enemies?" Delay sighed inexplicably when she saw Reina's childlike behavior, but she still made a simple courtier salute to Panjena, then looked towards Hocus, and said in a deep voice in the direction of Lamoka. "Insignificant sun god, we are the enemies invading your blazing Sunday." Hearing this, Panjena looked at Hocus and Lamoka, frowned heavily and said, "You look like good people. Since Delay said they are enemies invading Liang, you, as the main god of Liang, should destroy them." Regarding Chiudina's words, whether there was any momentum or blessing, Hocus and Lamoka directly looked at it and ended their mutual discussion. Does he feel that the man is right? Looking at Delay's attitude, that person seems to be the new sun god, but it looks like he's just a big boy. Seeing that her threat was ignored, Pangena immediately became angry, and as your mood changed, an orange-red energy field appeared around you again. The temperature of the surrounding space began to rise rapidly, and soon it was filled with a scorching cold breath. However, those who could stand outside were mortals. Naturally, they would be injured by the sudden change in temperature, but the happiness was always there. Unavoidable. He has to learn to control his energy. He has to be careful when he explodes. There are no Liang people out there, they are going to hurt us. Chuda on the side quickly reminded him, fearing that if Pangena controlled it so that she could bomb the external flare, Yongxiao Tianting would be sunk by the enemy instead of being sunk by her own Lord God. After hearing Delay's reminder, Pangena noticed that she had inadvertently released energy again, and quickly restrained the energy radiation, and then the scorching cold around her dissipated. Although there was a big episode, the morale of Liang's side was extremely high because of the appearance of Chiudina's new sun god. The coalition side felt lighthearted after experiencing the raging of the inner starstorm and the accidental energy radiation from Pangena. No one was already complaining in their hearts about why they provoked that war. After controlling her energy before it leaked out, Pangena raised her hand and the surging fusion energy condensed into a fireball like the sun and shot towards Hokus in the blink of an eye. Chudik and Lamoka, who originally had a believing attitude, suddenly changed their expressions before they felt the weak energy contained in the seemingly ordinary fireball. Boom! Turbulent air waves swept over, and a large mushroom cloud rose among the coalition forces. Pangena destroyed the gathered coalition soldiers with one casual blow, and also blew up a small crater in the square of Yongxiao Tianting. The exposed alloy skeleton could be vaguely seen through the bottom of the crater. Even Pangena was frightened by her blow. You really only used a tiny bit of energy, and you didn't expect that the destructive power was so small. When Pangena was stunned, Hokus and Lamoka would miss that small opportunity. The sun god looked like a young boy who had no experience in the world. He was distracted on the battlefield. He really knew how to write the word death. Several energy arrows broke through the space along the way and shot towards Pangena, who was unaware of it. However, they were stopped by the orange-red energy field when they were still not far away from your body surface, and there was no way to retreat even an inch. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 966. It wasn't until Lamoka's attack was blocked by her permanent energy field that Dilana looked to her side belatedly. But the next moment, violent energy exploded. Dilana subconsciously crossed her arms to block the door and closed her eyes tightly. Seeing this, Lamoka in the distance immediately stopped thinking about retreating. Is this the sun god of the blazing sun? Not only Lamoka saw it, but Hokus also saw it. Without communicating with Lamoka, dazzling thunder surged around him, like a ball of bursting lightning rushing out. Naturally, Pan Zhen also saw this scene. He appeared in front of Reina in a flash. The long spear in his hand was dazzling with fire, and he swung it fiercely to form a surging energy shockwave to block Hokus. However, several energy arrows passed over the charging Hokus and hit the energy impact first, breaking the originally stable energy form and causing a violent explosion. Before the energy aftermath of the explosion dissipated, Hokus rushed out first, past Pan Zhen and attacked Dilana behind him. Pan Zhen immediately turned his long sword to sweep out, but a series of energy arrows hit his weapon. Lamoka, who was not far away, stretched out his hand on the sky bow in his arms and pulled out several energy arrows at will, and shot them towards Pan Zhen's position. The power of these energy arrows is far worse than before, but the important thing is that they are numerous, like a torrential rain. Pan Zhen frowned, stretched out his hand, and the blazing star glow emerged, sweeping forward like a storm, crushing all the energy arrows that were fired. Dilana saw an enemy rushing toward her. Although she was a little scared, she still clenched her fists to transfer the energy in her body and prepared to attack. Before Hocus could reach the ground, he raised his hand and a bolt of lightning was drawn out like a long whip, but Dilana raised her arm to block it. The exploding thunder and lightning flew around, but did not cause any harm to Dilana. This made Hocus frown slightly, but this did not prevent him from rushing to Dilana. Turning his head to avoid the incoming fist, the surging thunder and lightning in Hocus' hand pressed against Dilana's abdomen, and then the spiderweb-shaped thunder and lightning exploded. Dilana let out a slightly frightened cry and was blown away dozens of meters away. She landed on the ground like a rolling gourd and rolled back far away before stopping. Dilana felt her paralyzed body and climbed up from the ground tremblingly. Until this moment, there were still dancing arcs on her armor. However, the powerful recovery power of the invincible body has repaired the damage she just suffered in a short period of time. Apart from the slight stinging pain coming from various parts of her body, Dilana did not feel any other abnormality. Hocus glanced at the thunder surging in his hand, and then looked at Dilana, who seemed to be unharmed, feeling a little doubtful about life. The attack just now didn't look very good, but in fact the energy contained in the thunderous impact was terrifying, otherwise it would not have been able to break through the energy field around Dilana. But judging from Dilana's performance, her body was not affected at all, but the self-doubt only lasted for a moment, and Hocus continued to rush towards Dilana. Dilana swallowed nervously and took a stance to meet the charging Hocus. But it was obvious that the newly born sun goddess Dilana was as young as a newborn baby in front of Hocus, the war god who had lived for countless years. No matter how she counterattacked and defended, Dilana would always be hit in the body by Hocus' fist that surged with terrifying thunder. First, the armor's weak defense was on the abdomen. When Dilana defended the abdomen, her delicate face would receive another punch. Emperor Minglana could see Hocus' movements clearly, but her body's reaction was always a beat slower. Pan Zhen, who was entangled with Lamoka not far away, saw Dilana, the majestic Liang Lord God, being beaten by Hocus with his peripheral vision. But Pan Zhen was not worried that Hocus could kill his own sun goddess. As the most important divine body equipped with the power of the divine river in the anti-void god-making project, the invincible body certainly has its own unique and powerful features. With abundant energy, the invincible body can quickly repair its own damage. Coupled with its own hardness, which ranks among the top among divine bodies of its generation, its ability to resist blows is extraordinary. Don't look at Hocus constantly knocking Dilana away, or hitting Dilana's body with powerful thunder energy punches. But until now Dilana has not really suffered any damage, because the invincible body cooperates with the energy drive and transportation ability of the sun's light, and the two complement each other to exert an extraordinary effect. Dilana's divine body automatically repaired itself as soon as it suffered a little damage, so that Hocus's idea of using continuous energy strikes to destroy Dilana's divine body was simply impossible to realize. Pan Zhen originally thought that Dilana would be able to get used to fighting with god-level enemies after being beaten for a while, but he found that he was overthinking it. Seeing Reina being kicked down by Hocus, and being smashed into the platform by his top-down kick, Pan Zhen realized that his expectations for Reina were too high. No matter how powerful her body is, Lena is still just a child who has just been exposed to this world for less than half a month. Reina, you have to mobilize your own energy. You are the sun goddess and control the power of the sun. Don't fight him, you can't beat him. Reina, who was lying on the ground, had just crawled out of the pit where her body was embedded. Before she could respond to Pan Zhen's words in the communication, Hocus' next blow came. But this time, Reina didn't try to defend against Hocus' attack, and the orange light flashed in her eyes. The blazing energy swirled and rose with her as the center, and the terrifying high temperature instantly melted the ground of the square in the sky. The charging Hocus came to a sudden stop. Feeling the oncoming heat wave, he felt very complicated. He knew that the war between Thunderblade and the Islanders was coming to an end. In fact, the outcome of this war has been decided since the appearance of the Lord God Liang. Although Island and Thunderblade entered Liang Tiandao's sphere of influence, they failed to achieve their strategic goals because the main god of Liang was born. After Lina gradually realized her advantage, Hocus could no longer attack Dilina at will. In the end, Hocus Lamoka, who was helpless, broke out from the sky with his few remaining subordinates. And the reason why they were able to successfully break through was because Pan Zhen deliberately let them leave. These two are both old rivals of Liang. If they fall, Thunderblade and Gulans will introduce new war gods. Who knows what the two civilizations that have lost these two gods will do? And after Reyna became familiar with her abilities as the sun god, Pan Zhen felt that Thunderblade and the Islanders did not dare to provoke the Liang civilization anymore. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 967. The reason why Pan Zhen had this idea was entirely based on the battlefield killing ability of the sun goddess Reyna against conventional troops. No matter how many conventional troops there are, as long as Lina arrives on the battlefield and connects to the nearest star, using star drive technology to create an extremely large-scale starstorm, except for the second and third generation super warriors who can barely survive, all life will be scorched by the blazing energy, turned into fly ash. This is also the reason why no civilization dared to provoke easily when Liang had its main god. Before this problem was solved, the war could not be fought at all. Just as Pan Zhen expected, after Hocus and Lamoka fled back, the coalition forces that had originally approached the Liang heavenly world began to retreat quickly. They were afraid that the blazing sun would drop Lina near their troops again, causing their troops to evaporate out of thin air again. At this point, the war in the Shenhe Tiandao galaxy entered a period of confrontation. During this period, Liang wanted to take back the portal planet that was taken away by the coalition forces, but encountered fierce resistance from the coalition forces. At the same time, the coalition forces equipped a large number of dark matter weapons on the front line to counter the main god Emperor Rina of the Liang. If Liang ignores it and allows Dilina to massacre ordinary soldiers of the coalition will also break the default rules of civilized civil war in the Kamigawa system and use weapons of mass destruction on the battlefield. Although Liang criticized this, he ultimately chose to maintain the status quo. However, Liang's scientific research projects that had been stagnant for nearly 10,000 years began to move forward rapidly. Dilina can use star drive, which proves that the invincible body technology has been successful. What remains is to split this technology so that the ordinary Sun Super Warrior technology can also be optimized. At the same time, the reason why Pan Zhen chose to call a truce with the coalition forces was to hold back a big surprise. Even though Dilina had just come out, she gave the coalition forces a stellar storm. But it can only go so far. Algorithms such as supernova catalysis, the incarnation of the sun once carried by the sun god, and giant flare bombing have not yet been mastered. Otherwise, Pan Zhen is not that easy to talk to, and the angel is still watching. If Liang goes too far and detonates stars at will, the angel may intervene. However, through the situation in the universe during this period, Pan Zhen was able to predict that there would be a battle between angels and Styx in the near future. At that time, it would be difficult for angels to have the energy to intervene in the affairs of other civilizations in the universe. But this is a great opportunity for Liang to rise. Before that, Liang still needs to concentrate on development and accumulate the power to destroy Thunderblade and the Eslan people in one battle. What Pan Zhen can see can naturally be seen by other civilizations in the known universe. Moreover, angels and Styx have been fighting openly and secretly recently, and some civilizations have begun to take sides. For example, the Thunderblade Island and the Thane Empire of the Pork Nebula were at war with Liang, and they were obviously more inclined to the Styx side. There are also undercurrents surging within the Angels' Order of Justice, but with the pressure from the Merlot Heavenly Court, nothing has happened for the time being. As for the demonic civilization, after the Lord God was permanently imprisoned by the angels, the demonic civilization was chased and annihilated by the angels, dying and escaping. The demon fleet that once could compete with the angels has been completely destroyed, leaving only a few high-level demons. The god-level demons hide in some remote corners and dare not show up. The world of justice, after many preparations and coordination, finally completed preparations for the second great expedition. The goal of this great expedition is the largest gathering place of the Chaos Virus, which is the Chaos Star territory that has been blocked by them in the Eternal Ascended database. During the preparations for the Great Crusade, the Chaos Rebels in the Edge World were jointly annihilated by the Second Angel Legion and the Chaos Hunter Legion led by Alan. At this point, the conditions for launching the Great Crusade were mature, and Binghua also stopped his research on the application of sacred atoms and began to prepare for coordination before launching the Great Crusade. However, this Great Crusade did not have a great impact on the world of justice, because there were a large number of Eternal Ascended intelligent machines as friendly forces, so the various worlds did not enter a state of war like during the First Great Crusade. Even the Judgment Angel Legion has not been transferred, only the god-level angels among them have been transferred to the Great Expedition Force. This is to supplement the high-level combat power of the Justice World Force. Goddess, elite legions, and defense forces drawn from various worlds have arrived at the front line of the Death Star Fortress world. Alan sent a message that the Chaos Lords in the Death Star realm are currently concentrated near the defense line of the Fortress world, which is a good opportunity to catch them all. Jingnan began to report on the assembly of the Great Expeditionary Force. Okay, tell the demigod army and the fleet of gods that we set off immediately, otherwise we will be late and we won't even be able to watch the show. Binghua was in a good mood because she had just solved the problem of controlling the sacred atoms and could make the sacred atoms aggregate and disintegrate according to her own will. At this time, in the Death Star territory and the Fortress World defense line, defense forces from various worlds had just gotten off the large carrier ships. Everything here is different from the world they once lived in, including towering metal fortresses and giant forts that reach the sky at intervals. Just as they were looking around with surprised eyes, a guard quietly touched his companion and asked him to look over there. I saw a supergiant transport ship comparable in size to the Destruction class slowly opening its hatch, followed by the sound of extremely heavy footsteps. I saw an Apocalypse Mecha, known as a super heavy ground annihilation weapon, slowly stepping out of it. Before the defense forces could look away, another one followed closely. In the end, 15 Apocalypse Mechas lined up and passed by them, and the terrifying sense of oppression made these defense forces drawn from various worlds feel suffocated. This is just one of the scenes of many landing troops in the Fortress world. After the Justice world obtained the Eternal Ascended technology, in addition to the advancement of energy weapon technology, mechanical engineering has also developed by leaps and bounds. For example, the Immortal and the Apocalypse Mecha. In the past, it took a lot of resources to build these war weapons in the Righteous world, and even some worlds lacking processing technology could not even manufacture them. But now, the Apocalypse Mecha has been mass-produced, and the Immortal Armor Fanshin world is considering whether to mass-produce it. While Binghua arrived at the defense line of the Fortress world, outside the atmosphere of a planet riddled with holes that had been corrupted by the Chaos Virus on the other side of the defense line, several purification fleets and fleets of gods launched an attack on the planet. This was the signal for the beginning of the Second Great Crusade. The blazing purifying beam swept across the planet's surface, leaving every inch of the corrupted Earth unspoiled. Countless twisted chaos-infected creatures howled in pain, but in the face of the light of judgment falling from the sky, they could only be turned into ashes in the burning flames. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 968. Keep burning it for me, I don't believe it has been hiding in the ground forever. Alan was in the space in the fleet, watching indifferently as the planet in front of him was ignited. The reason for this is that a Chaos Lord hides beneath the planet. Not long ago, the Chaos Army surrounding this planet was wiped out by her fleet, blocking the Chaos Lord who wanted to escape. When the orbital bombardment that lasted for several hours ended, the entire planet's surface had been flattened, and no intact place could be seen. Alan then issued the order to land. Several destruction-class warships entered the atmosphere that could collapse at any time, and dropped orbital airdrop pods one after another like a goddess scattering flowers. Our unit has successfully landed. It has been confirmed that there is no Chaos Lord underground. We can release heavy weapons. A group of elite Legion soldiers walked out of the airdrop warehouse. What caught their sight was the earth that was charred, carbonized, and even covered with high-temperature crystallization products. In addition, there are gullies left by purification beams and huge craters left by dark energy annihilation cannons a little further away. The place where they are located can be regarded as a rare flat land. After scanning the ground under their feet with the detection equipment they carried and confirming that it was safe, they reported the situation to the battleship above. The positioning device is installed and heavy fire support units will be released soon. After receiving the order, this elite group of legionnaires immediately found a relatively flat area and began to install the positioning device. After everything was done, as the light projected by a space-time gate fell from the sky, a giant metal creation slowly appeared in the continuously flowing energy glow. The apocalypse is coming and the boys tell me where is the area that needs to be bombed. I promise to blow your enemies to pieces. The pilot of Apocalypse laughed and said in the communication. At the same time, he controlled the scanning system on the body to scan the surroundings, established a temporary combat map, and marked the positions of friendly forces. This is the ground landing team, Apocalypse 256. Our mission for the time being is to stand by and wait for friendly forces to join up. The Apocalypse Mech's forward pace began to slow down and stopped moving forward. However, several large dark energy rail guns mounted on its back were deployed on its shoulders, aiming forward and ready to attack at any time. Although the Apocalypse pilot is confident that even if he encounters a chaos beast, he can use his men to hammer it to pieces, but as a soldier who has served for many years, he will not disobey orders. On the other hand, he knew about this combat mission before setting off, and he would cooperate with aerial battleships and ground troops to eliminate the Chaos Lords hiding underground on the planet. In order not to damage the main structure of the planet, this combat mission requires ground troops to install explosive devices to blast away the soil above the Chaos Lord's head. Although the same purpose can be achieved with ship-based weapons, if you are not careful, you may cause irreparable damage to the planet. Today's world of justice is no longer as violent as before when it comes to eradicating chaotic creatures. It no longer needs to destroy the entire planet so violently. Instead, it has the luxury of slowly eradicating them. Alan came to the flagship of his Second Legion, sat in his seat, and paid attention to the situation on the planet's surface through several void projections in front of him. The battleship she was on, as well as several destruction class, and purification flagships, had sealed off the planet to prevent the Chaos Lord from escaping. Alan has been doing this kind of thing a lot during this time, and has relied on this tactic to eliminate several Chaos Lords hiding near the fortress's defense line. Seeing in the projection that the Apocalypse Mecha had been deployed, Alan immediately issued the order to start the suppression operation. The Apocalypse Mecha and the elite legions that were originally on standby on the surface of the planet began to move towards the discovered hidden snow area of the Chaos Lord. Before the Apocalypse Mecha could get closer, a lump of earth suddenly bulged out of the charred and carbonized earth, and a giant chaotic beast pushed through the earth and rocks above its head and crawled out with a roar. But before the chaotic beast could completely climb out, two dark energy orbital cannonballs trailing long trails had already been fired. In an instant, huge kinetic energy bombarded the body of the chaotic beast, followed by a terrifying energy impact that exploded. After only 2 dark energy rail cannon shots, the outer armor of the chaos behemoth was shattered, and traces of black and red blood flowed out. Seeing this, the Apocalypse Mecha not far away fired continuously with the dark energy rail cannons spread out on its shoulders, and the dark matter annihilation cannons on its hands also fired at the same time. Continuous explosions immediately covered the area where the chaos behemoth was. After a few seconds, the Apocalypse Mecha stopped shooting, leaving only a cratered corpse of the chaos behemoth on the spot. As the chaos behemoth broke out of the ground, some ordinary chaos creatures that had escaped the orbital bombardment also roared out, but the barrage poured out from the heavy blast guns in the hands of the elite Legion soldiers shot them into scattered pieces of flesh. At the same time, the elite Legion soldiers also marked the gathering area of chaotic creatures, and then several fiery red meteors dropped from the sky and hit the group of chaotic creatures, exploding into several rising mushroom clouds. From time to time, turbulent shock waves would carry the earth and rocks past the elite Legion soldiers who were advancing forward, as well as the Apocalypse Mecha beside them. After the local troops advanced to the area where the Chaos Lord was, as the installed directional explosive device was activated, continuous explosions sounded one after another. The ground with a radius of more than 10 kilometers exploded at the same time, revealing the black and red body of the creature below. The Chaos Lord who had been hiding under the planet finally revealed his body. As if knowing that he could no longer hide, the Chaos Lord pushed open the countless kilometers of earth and rocks above his head, rising from the ground like a piece of meat. Thorns pointing obliquely at the sky grew on his bloated body, and extremely thick black-red tentacles poked out of the ground and struck at the space-time shield of the Apocalypse Mecha. The terrifying power carried by its tentacles made even the Apocalypse Mecha, which was hundreds of meters tall, unable to help but take several steps back before successfully stabilizing its center of gravity. The Apocalypse Mecha that was not attacked frantically poured out all its firepower towards the Chaos Lord who looked like a mountain in front of it. Today, even if the Chaos Lord is a mountain range, they will blow him up. At the same time, the warships in the outer space of the planet naturally discovered the huge figure of the Chaos Lord. Several destruction-class warships with better shooting range aimed their secondary guns at the bottom of the hull, and adjusted the power so as not to accidentally damage friendly forces. Just fire! The Chaos Lord who had just emerged from the ground had not been arrogant for long when several large dark matter annihilation cannonballs hit his body, and the exploding dark matter energy evaporated a large piece of his body on the spot. As time passed, after enduring dozens of rounds of targeted bombings from orbital warships and dozens of continuous shooting from Apocalypse Mechas, the Chaos Lord's mountain-like body finally couldn't hold up and collapsed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 969. What a good tactic, what do you think? Ran. Binghua turned off the projection screen, and the screen stopped at the scene where the Chaos Lord lost the ability to move. Well, the entire tactic did not use the Angel Legion, and completely used the power of mortals and fleets to kill the Chaos Lord. This is worthy of promotion among the armies of the righteous world. As the leader of the Judgment Angel, Ran was naturally transferred to the Expeditionary Force as a high-level combat force. Now he is following Binghua on his way to the fortress defense line. Although it is worthy of promotion, this time we are on an expedition. What we need is speed, and we must use the most efficient means to clear away the chaotic creatures blocking our front. Although Olan's tactics are worthy of promotion, they are not suitable for this expedition. After arriving in the fortress world, you will lead an army to clean up the Chaos Lord. We cannot delay at the fortress defense line for too long, otherwise we will have to wait for the Chaos Lords to react, gather together and form a super large chaos army, and we will have to fight a war of attrition with them. Binghua affirmed Ran's words, but it also showed that this tactic was not suitable for this great expedition. After several days of sailing, the last elite troops of the Great Crusade arrived at the fortress defense line. Without exchanging pleasantries with the generals and army commanders stationed here, Binghua led a fleet and Ranya led a fleet to leave the fortress defense line and began to clear the defense line with Elan and Kaza, who arrived here first. The Chaos Lord and the Chaos Army on the other side. Compared to Elan and the others who clean up the Chaos Army and besiege the Chaos Lord in a step-by-step manner, the fleet led by Binghua is much more straightforward. A mimic star blasted past, and a large gap was blown out of the dense army of chaos. Then God's fleet pressed on and used powerful firepower to divide and annihilate them one by one. As for the Chaos Lord, no matter whether it is a single form or a giant beast, it is impossible to escape the detection of Binghua's eye of insight. In front of the fleet, on the infected planet that is regarded as the base camp of the Chaos Army, there is a Chaos Lord hiding. But compared to the Chaos Lord Binghua had seen, this Chaos Lord's body shape was very strange. He was neither a giant beast nor a single body. She is like a tangled root, rooted in the entire star, almost integrated with the planet. Before Binghua's fleet of gods could approach, tentacles thousands of meters thick rose from the ground and entangled themselves across a distance of hundreds of thousands of meters. However, with Binghua's reminder, the warships approaching the planet were on alert. When they saw the tentacles coming, they quickly made emergency evasive maneuvers and quickly moved away from the planet. Then, volcanic-like mountains of black and red flesh bulged out from the surface of the infected planet, spewing out blazing energy masses into the universe and attacking the location of God's fleet. But the flying speed of those energy groups is really impressive. Although the distance is quite dense, it is not difficult for the pilots of each battleship to hide. Binghua was quite surprised by the posture of this Chaos Lord. She had seen a single Chaos Lord, which was the strongest creature that the Chaos Lord had ever encountered. They usually behaved in this manner and had extremely high abilities. Wisdom. The behemoth type is a living biological battleship creature that stretches like a mountain range and has space navigation capabilities. It is generally extremely resistant to beatings and has strong attack capabilities. Some of the giant ones can even eat planets. They also have strong intelligence. But Binghua soon found the definition and description of this kind of Chaos Lord in the Eternal Ascended One's database. Planetary Chaos Lord, a mobile biological planetary fortress, a living biological war factory, relying on devouring planets to maintain its own vitality. It has planetary biomagnetic field and orbital defense attack capabilities, and can also hatch a large number of chaotic creatures in a short period of time to protect itself. It is precisely to fight against this kind of planet-level Chaos Lord that the Eternal Ascended One developed the Fortress of Destruction and its head-on confrontation, relying on a steady stream of intelligent machines to slowly grind the opponent to death. Binghua was very curious about the biomagnetic field of the planet-level Chaos Lord, and asked his fleet of gods to launch several tentative salvos. But as recorded in the Eternal Ascended database, the dark matter annihilation ray launched by the god's fleet was interfered with by inexplicable force field energy and began to dissipate when it was about to hit the surface of the planetary Chaos Lord. As a result, the power of the dark matter annihilation ray that finally fell on him was somewhat unsatisfactory. Although it was not useless at all, it was like scratching an itch for the Chaos Lord, who was as big as a planet. The effects of the subsequent rounds of shooting were not much different, although everyone knew that as long as the attacks were concentrated to a certain extent, they could definitely break the Chaos Lord's planetary biological force field. But now the size of their fleet is here. If it weren't for the great god Binghua in the fleet, with the size of their fleet, wandering in the dangerous area of the Death Star territory would have the risk of annihilation. Seeing that the fleet of gods could not take down the planetary Chaos Lord in a short period of time, Binghua stood up from his position. "Queen, do you want to do it yourself?" Jingnan said in surprise when he saw Binghua's movements, which attracted the attention of many people on the bridge. The listless expressions of the escorting angels immediately became excited, because they felt that a fight was likely to follow. It's not that they don't fulfill their duties, but that as guardian angels, they are more of a showmanship of Binghua's status than their duties. After all, if there is real danger, who will protect whom needs to be discussed separately. Well, I don't know how long it will take to kill him if this continues. Next, we will enter the Chaos Star territory, annihilate the Chaos Lords here one day earlier, and end the Great Expedition one day earlier. After Binghua finished speaking, his body disintegrated into countless golden light particles in full view, passing through the bridge and reuniting outside. This scene surprised many people in the bridge. Although they knew that their goddess was as powerful as a god, her behavior was now more like that of the legendary god. After calculating the distance, Binghua felt that it was a little far away, and his body turned into golden particles again, flying towards the planet-shaped Chaos Lord. When the sacred atoms reunited, the distance between Binghua and the Chaos Lord was extremely close. Even if the Chaos Lord wanted to, his tentacles could hit Binghua's location. But the Chaos Lord could no longer do that, because the energy field emitted by the Titan's grip had quickly spread to his body. The planetary biological force field, which was originally capable of dispelling energy attacks, was directly disrupted and destroyed by Binghua after it was discovered by Binghua. In an instant, the planetary Chaos Lord was stripped off his most powerful coat by Binghua, revealing his defenseless body inside. Without any intention of holding back, Binghua drove the force field algorithm to strengthen the force field, and a huge tearing force acted on the main surface of the planetary Chaos Leader. Huge land plates separated from the Chaos Lord. The ice flower was like peeling an egg, forcibly pulling out the Chaos Lord's root-like main body from the planet, even if it caused the planet to collapse and disintegrate. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 970. Gazing at the main body of the planetary Chaos Lord with countless tentacles growing intertwined, Binghua once again increased the intensity of the force field and immediately pulled the last part of his body out of the broken planet. Suddenly attacked by this attack, the Chaos Lord has been trying to break away from the huge pressure exerted on the surface of his body, but in the end, instead of being broken away, the pressure has intensified. In fact, after Binghua pulled Chaos Lord out of the main body of the planet, he tried to tear it into pieces with a force field. However, due to the huge size and toughness of Chaos Lord, the strength of the dispersed force field was somewhat limited. Not enough. However, Binghua was not helpless. He allocated part of his energy to drive the pseudo-star algorithm, and suddenly several fiery red energy spheres condensed from scratch. Immediately, ice flower began to shape these micro-mimic stars, from a spherical shape damaged by the deflection explosion, to a sword shape with stronger penetration. Then these energy swords exuding brilliance turned into several flashing streams of light and rushed towards the Chaos Lord who was approaching Chi-Chi. Even in the universe where sound cannot propagate, one can see how powerful Binghua's attack is through the shockwave formed by the pseudo-star that exploded below the surface of the Chaos Lord. Several gaps were blown out of the Chaos Lord's root-like main body. Although it was nothing to the whole body, it still caused a violent struggle. Because the Chaos Lord judged from the power of Ice Flower's attack that if he did not break free from the force field energy that suppressed him, he would be at risk of death. After collecting the body strength data of the Chaos Lord through attacks, Binghua already had an idea on how to cook him. It would take too much to destroy the opponent with pure violence. There is no need to do so when the opponent has no ability to fight back. Moreover, he is accompanied by a large fleet of gods. They have a strike force of Star Destroyer level, and now is the time to use it. The fleet commander, who was admiring the power of his own goddess, suddenly received an order from the goddess's assistant officer Jingnan. The main guns of each ship begin to charge, and the target is the main body of the Chaos Lord, and the maximum power is used to strike. The commander-in-chief of the fleet did not dare to slack off and quickly issued orders to the captains. Immediately, the battleships began to take action, and the formations were also changed to leave a firing route for each battleship and bring out the maximum firepower of the fleet. A few minutes later, as the destroyer flagship in the fleet opened fire first and fired a thick beam, each battleship followed suit. In an instant, dark matter annihilation beams across space bombarded the Chaos Lord's body, and continued to irradiate and bombard without any intention of stopping. The thick tentacles on the surface of the Chaos Lord's main body were melted one by the dark matter annihilation light beam, followed by the tough protective layer on the surface of the main body, and then the flesh and blood inside. As time goes by, the Chaos Lord's main body has been penetrated by the annihilation beam in several places, and the wounds are getting bigger and bigger under the irradiation of the beam. The ice flower just maintains the force field algorithm of Titan's grip, restricting the Chaos Lord's movements and preventing him from escaping or counter-attacking. Otherwise, the process of eliminating this Chaos Lord would never be as easy as the various warships saw. The opponent's counter-attack alone would cause heavy losses to the fleet. A few hours later, most of the Chaos Lord's main body had disappeared, and most of its main body was annihilated into nothingness under the irradiation of the annihilation beam. In the next few months, Binghua and other generals from the Justice World led a large fleet, combined with the Purification Fleet commanded by Seminary, to launch a comprehensive encirclement and suppression of the Chaos Lords in the Death Star territory. The Chaos Lords and the Eternal Ascended were originally at a disadvantage in the war, but now a force that is not inferior to them suddenly jumped in. Some Chaos Lords with high intelligence already felt something bad. Some people have even planned to leave the Death Star territory and go to the endless deep space of the universe to avoid this encirclement and suppression by the Justice World and the Eternal Ascended Ones. Binghua had no intention of continuing to fight against the Chaos Lords in the Death Star territory. After annihilating some of the troublemakers, the expeditionary force began to advance rapidly towards the Chaos Star territory. Along the way, Binghua and other god-level angels as well as the Purification Fleet cleared the way, and all the chaotic creatures they encountered ended up turning into ashes. But when the expeditionary force entered the Chaos Star territory, this situation changed. Because the Chaos Star territory was blocked by Seminary all year round, the number of Chaos Lords inside it was very large. Needless to say, the army of chaos, the biological warships and chaotic bodies covered by an ocean, forced the expeditionary army to slow down its progress. In order to bring this great expedition to an end as soon as possible, Binghua no longer sat on the throne as before, watching the performance of mortals in the war, but chose to die in person. It has to be said that with the existence of Binghua, who is comparable to a weapon of mass destruction, no matter whether it is a Chaos Lord or a special Chaos creature standing in front of them, they will not be able to cause much trouble to the expeditionary force. But even so, the expeditionary force still suffered a lot of casualties. After all, Binghua couldn't care about all places, and there were always areas that she couldn't take care of. There they can only rely on the expeditionary force to use their own lives and courage to stop the chaotic army sweeping towards them. However, with the assistance of large-scale intelligent machinery, the casualties of the expeditionary force are generally acceptable. Moreover, the goal of this expedition is not to destroy all the chaotic creatures in the Chaos Star territory, but to open a passage to the core area of the Chaos Star territory. After several years of arduous progress, there is not much distance left before the expeditionary force reaches its target area. "Queen, do you really want to do that?" Jingnan said hesitantly, wanting to persuade his queen, even if she had already done so several times before. "It's okay, Jingnan, didn't I tell you, nothing will happen to you. I have already experimented once before, and it only takes some time for my body to reassemble." Binghua waved her hands indifferently, not worried about her own safety. She knew that the reason why Jingnan repeatedly warned her was to ignite them. Many high-level officials in the justice world are opposed to Binghua's plan to trigger a supernova explosion in the Chaos Star territory to quickly destroy the effective force of the Chaos virus in the Chaos Star territory. But Binghua insisted on going her own way, and no one could stop her. She could only take a roundabout way and follow the path of the assistant officer beside her. As the expeditionary force advanced, Binghua could already clearly see the giant star that he had chosen as his target. Now only the chaotic creatures that were attracted by the expeditionary force and blocked the front were left. She only needs to eliminate them and reach that planetary system, and the expeditionary force can evacuate backwards and leave the star field, and she will clear away the chaotic creatures here with the light that can swallow the galaxy and illuminate the stars. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 971. Ran stared at the planetary system with giant stars in front of the fleet through the porthole of the bridge, and sighed. In the end, they failed to persuade the Queen, and the plan to trigger a supernova explosion was not changed. What was about to begin was the encirclement and suppression of the Chaos Army blocking the front. While Ran was observing the starry sky, the destruction-class ship she was aboard had begun to send out its own air and space fighters. Fighters jetting blue tail flames flew past the battleships and flew forward. Around them were streaks of annihilation beams that shot past from the direction of the fleet. Before both sides came into contact with the Chaos Army, they were bombarded by a cluster of expeditionary force fleets. A large number of Chaos behemoths and biological warships were pierced through their bodies and blown to pieces before they could sense their enemies. Then the First Angel Legion and the Second Angel Legion entered the scene. The bursts of red energy exploded in no way less than the damage caused by the battleship's main gun. Some high-level angels even took the time to use Skyblade Judgment to directly clear a large area of chaotic creatures. Ran, Alan, and other god-level angels also showed no signs of weakness and exerted their maximum destructive power, rushing directly into the army of chaos and swaying their power wantonly. Binghua didn't just watch in the battleship. She turned into a golden sacred atom and quickly passed the distance between the fleet and the Chaos Army. As soon as he showed his figure, the blazing energy in his hand turned into a bright sphere like a star in his palm. As the slender fingers held the sphere, it exploded violently, forming an energy shock wave with no dead ends and sweeping around. Except for the ice flower itself in the center, Fang Yuan. Thousands of meters of chaotic creatures were turned into ashes. Then Binghua carried out the Titan's grip, spread the force field, and lightly hooked his fingers. The force field turned from virtual to solid, and the bodies of all the chaotic creatures shrouded in the force field were squeezed into a flat surface little by little in the middle. Then, like a raging wind, the air and space fighter fleet launched the hot melt explosive bombs they carried, blooming into dazzling high-temperature plasma fireballs in the chaotic army. After several hours of fighting, the size of the Chaos Army had been reduced by 2/3, with only 1/3 still resisting. However, the passage to the planetary system has been opened, and there is no need for the expeditionary force to attack further. What they have to do is to leave the Chaos Star territory in the shortest possible time. The ice bloom turned into a stream of light and rushed towards the planetary system where the giant star was located. Seeing the goddess leaving the expedition fleet, the commander-in-chief of the expedition fleet let out a heavy breath and issued a retreat order through the communication channel. The air and space fighter groups that were originally entangled with the Chaos Army began to gradually separate, and the Angel Legion also got rid of the chaos creatures under the command of each team captain. After Ran, Alan, Kaza and other direct descendants of Binghua took a look at the direction in which their goddess was heading, they finally had no choice but to follow the expeditionary force and begin to retreat. After being completely out of the battle, the expedition fleet boarded the Angels and began to make a jump voyage, leaving this space in an instant. After arriving at a safe place, the gate of time and space will open a giant space gate to allow the expeditionary force to withdraw to the world of justice. Binghua came to the vicinity of the giant star alone, looked up at the star that radiated endless light and heat, calmed down and raised his hands. Strings of sacred language characters appeared around Binghua and then disappeared. Binghua began to calculate the data of this star, and at the same time, he was building a driving formula to connect this star. Binghua's angel super gene is not the sun's light gene. It is equipped with a full set of star calculation and docking functions. Therefore, if you want to affect the operation of a star, you need to build a formula from scratch. This will take a little long, but once you succeed, the rest is easy. Before doing this, Binghua took the lead in constructing a driving formula that affected the activity of the star, causing it to emit solar storms to the surrounding space in a very short period of time, so that chaotic creatures could not approach here. This is to have a more stable environment in the future. As for Binghua herself, she has a fourth-generation divine body, and the mere solar wind is not much stronger to her than the breeze blowing on her face. As time passed, the giant star began to enter the supernova evolution stage. At this time, the expeditionary force had left the chaos star field. Just as Jingnan began to rub the hem of his clothes uneasily, a message suddenly popped up. Jingnan, have you missed me, Queen? By the time you receive this news, the supernova catalysis will probably have reached the final stage, so it will be inconvenient for me to talk to you directly. But the reason why I left this message is to tell you, you queens, I will never have any problems. See you again in 30 years. Binghua's message was not long, but it still made Jingnan's worried mood relax a little. Soon after, the Justice World observed that a giant star located in the core of the chaos star field completed its supernova evolution in a very short period of time, bursting out with extremely bright light. The shock wave formed by its explosion shattered everything around it. Whether it was stars or others, they were all reduced to nothingness in the impact of the supernova explosion. Although planets that are slightly farther away can remain intact, all living things on the surface of the planet are killed under the impact of energy. Even the tenacious chaos virus is no exception. Although it is impossible to wipe out all the chaotic creatures within the chaos star territory at once, after the baptism of the supernova, it is foreseeable that the power of the chaos virus will suffer a huge blow. There are only 2 or 3 kittens left, and it is only necessary to send out some standing armies of the Justice World and the Purification Fleet to cruise and annihilate them. As long as there are precautions, the chaos virus will no longer be able to form a climate, and the righteous world does not need to be alert to the incoming chaos army at all times. More than 10 years later, the shock wave caused by the supernova explosion was no longer as intense as before, and the world of justice began to organize fleets to investigate the situation in the chaos star field. The result is gratifying. There are not many chaos armies left that could be seen everywhere, and only the chaos lords on the periphery of the chaos star field survive. But after the baptism of the supernova explosion, they all fell into weakness, and because they did not have large-scale flesh and blood and organic matter energy replenishment, they were simply unable to raise a chaotic army in a short period of time. This gave the Justice World and the Purification Fleet an opportunity to start looking for the weakened Chaos Lords and kill them. Everything is going according to the plan before Binghua launched the Great Crusade, and Chaos can no longer pose a threat to the world of justice. In the known universe, the Edge Galaxy, and the new Titan God's domain, the Titan God King is confronting Huayet. Behind both sides are angel warriors lined up neatly, and on the other side are majestic giants wearing heavy mechanical armor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 972. In fact, the Titans prefer others to call them giants than giants, because they are really like the Titans in the myths of some early pre-nuclear civilizations, with the power to destroy the world. Compared with more than 20,000 years ago, after these years of development, the Titans have deeply realized the mistakes they have made. While they were tempering their powerful bodies, they also did not forget to arm themselves with technology. Now, the queues of Titan warriors standing behind the Titan King, wearing heavy protective armor and holding guns, are the new legions that have replaced the former gold and silver armor Titan warriors. The only thing that makes the Titan God King unhappy is that the number of Titan warriors is too small after all, and he has no good solution for this. It is not easy for the Titan God clan to give birth to heirs, and it will take an extremely long time to grow up. Prime of life. The trauma caused by the physical war to the Titans has not been fully recovered, and it can only be said that they are out of the state of escape. I heard those beast body civilization guys call you God King. How dare you put gold on your face? This king is not as arrogant as you. Huaya spoke rather unhappily, with a tone full of disdain. In his opinion, the entire known universe can only be called the God King if Kesha defeats him and dominates the universe. This bastard from the Titan Protoss who jumped out of that corner dares to claim the throne. Today, he, the king of Heavenly Palace, Huaya, will teach him how to be self-aware. This is just a title. Is it because of this trivial matter that you started a war with my clan? The Titan God King was extremely tall, and Huaya was as small as a speck of dust in front of him, but in fact the Titan God King did not dare to look down upon these winged men. You must know that the last Titan God King fell under the attack of the winged people. Although this group of winged people were not the same as the group of winged people at that time, he did not want to restart the war. This is not because they are afraid of Huaya, but because there is no absolute conflict of interest between the two parties. There is no need to fight for life or death. Moreover, the Titan God King values the lives of his people and does not want them to fight to the death just because of a dispute of temper. The Titan God King did not want to conflict with the male angel, but in Huaya's opinion, this was a sign of lack of confidence, so his confidence grew even higher. Of course not. What I want is your surrender, and of course I won't let you work in vain. Weren't you defeated in the physical war more than 20,000 years ago and were driven out of your homeland? And this king is just like you. My throne is occupied by others. Soon I will take you into the known universe and regain the throne. By then I will be the king of the known universe, and you can take back your former territory and rebuild your home. Don't you think this is a good deal? You paid your loyalty, but gained everything you once lost. Huaya clenched his fists, as if it was a foregone conclusion that he would regain the throne. Everyone present with a mature mind knew that Huaya was trying to make a pie, but this pie was delicious enough. Some of the Titan warriors behind the Titan God King couldn't help but cast their eyes on the God King in front of them, waiting for his final decision. Huaya, what you said is too fantastical. The one who once destroyed our home was Binghua, the heavenly sword king of Merlot heaven. I think my strength is comparable to the previous Titan God King, but I still don't have the confidence to defeat her. You say you want to be the king of the universe, but if you don't have the strength to live up to your status, it's just an empty name. If you don't have the power to overpower me, following you is just asking for death. The Titan God King slammed the strange-shaped scepter in his hand, causing the ground to tremble slightly, but his words were clear. If you want the Titans to surrender, unless you have overwhelming power, everything is out of the question. No matter how sweet the cake you paint is useless. Huaya felt a little embarrassed. If he really had the power to crush the Titans, he would have led his army to attack them, and he would still have to waste time arguing with them here. But looking at the towering figure of the Titan God King, Huaya felt a little frightened. After all, he had no experience fighting against the Titan God clan. He has quite a few male angels who have dealt with Titan warriors. Hear them describe that Titan warriors are extremely difficult to deal with. Not only do they wear armor that is comparable to the protective armor of a battleship, but the weapons in their hands are also powerful. Coupled with their terrifying power that can tear the sky and crush the earth, super warriors of 3 generations or below will be injured by a mere scratch and disabled by contact. However, After thinking for a long time, Hua still planned to compete with the Titan God King. After all, he had not been in vain all these years. Not only did he obtain the void weapon supported by Karl, he even upgraded the Styx version of the third-generation divine body. The two sides agreed on a location on the unnamed planet where they were negotiating. The fleets and legions retreated one after another to give them enough space, while also quietly guarding each other. In fact, Hua originally planned to send his own men to fight in such a matter of fighting in front of the battle line, but after picking and choosing, he found that none of his men could fight. In the end, for the sake of his ambition to return to Angel Nebula and regain the Angel Throne, Hua finally made up his mind to fight in person. For the sake of safety on the Titan Protoss side, it was naturally the Titan God King himself who put on his own armor and weapons before the battle. Okay, let's start this showdown between kings. I will let you understand that only by following me will you find a way out. Hua was holding a black heavy sword and looked quite confident. Opposite him was the Titan God King, who was wearing silver and blue armor and holding a giant sword that reached the sky. My name is Okade, and I am the King of the Titans. I hereby challenge you. Liok's voice echoed in the void, and he looked down at the suspended Hua through the goggles of his armored helmet. The next moment both sides started moving almost simultaneously. Hua incited the angel's wings to rush out quickly. Leokild raised the giant sword nearly 100 meters away in his hand, and at the same time, scarlet flame energy quickly covered the giant sword and slammed it down. In an instant, a violent shockwave swept away in all directions, and the terrifying shockwave lifted the ground hundreds of meters into the air. Hua waved his weapon to push away the sweeping earth and rocks. A black and purple energy glow appeared on the dark heavy sword in his hand, and he swung it out, instantly forming a supergiant slashing wave tens of meters long. Leokt was startled by the sudden slashing wave that appeared all around him, but his reaction was not slow. He twisted the wrist holding the giant sword and swept the energy slashing aside. It wasn't until he actually fought against the Titan God King that Hua understood what his subordinates called the troublesome Titan warriors. That is, they are simply too tall. In terms of physical strength, super warriors definitely have the upper hand, but the destructive power caused by the Titan's movements can only be experienced by those who have actually faced their existence. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 973. A coughing sound came from the palace of King Tiangong. Hua pushed away the female angel who was leaning towards her to comfort her, and shouted angrily at her. Get away from me, this king, it's none of your business now. Hearing this, the female angel serving Hua trembled with fright and quickly retreated. King, although you were beaten badly, you were not defeated, right? There is no need to be so angry. Standing below, Kan Yu said softly, but this made Hua feel more and more irritable. The horse-riding brat who claims to be the God King is quite powerful. I was almost crushed to pieces by the broken giant sword in his hand. If this body wasn't hard enough, you wouldn't be able to see me. The reason why Hua was not angry was because when the Titan God King was dueling with him, he took advantage of his height and body and kept hitting him hard. Coupled with the strong protective power of the armor equipped by the opponent, it directly ignored his attack, so that Hua was hit so hard that he could not fight back. In the end, Hua risked his injuries and fought with him head-on for several times, so that he didn't completely lose his face. But because of this, Hua was extremely rarely injured. The duel ended in a draw, but anyone with a discerning eye could see that Hua suffered a big loss. After all, the Titan King's armor only had some damage, but Hua's divine body was actually damaged and needed time to recover. After this battle, Hua also discovered his shortcomings, which was that he lacked the means to win with one blow. His level of hand-to-hand combat is not weak, his divine body level is also at the forefront of the known universe, and his weapons are the most advanced void weapons. Coupled with the angel's high mobility, there are few opponents in the entire known universe. But the Titan God King woke Huaya up, which also reminded Huaya of the flame bombardment created by the group of female angels in Merlot heaven. But it is a pity that none of the male angels are proficient in the sacred language. Even if they have captured flaming swords in their arsenal, they cannot effectively crack it. At present, the male angel's most powerful attack algorithm is still the ancient energy chopper tens of thousands of years ago, which is similar to the flame slash. Although it has been optimized several times, the power improvement is very limited. It is enough to deal with ordinary enemies, even warships of ordinary civilizations, but it is not enough to deal with the Titans who also have outstanding physical fitness and strong technological strength. On the other side, the Titan God King discovered that this group of male winged men were not as powerful as the female winged men more than 20,000 years ago, which made Leokild, the Titan God King, feel at ease. At least he knew that not all Yiran forces were strong. At least the Tiangong group headed by Huaya was not strong enough to pose a fatal threat to their race. But what Liok didn't know was that Huaya, as the most important chess piece of Death God Karl's disruption of the known universe, would not sit back and let the opponent encounter obstacles before completing his mission. When Huaya was frustrated, Karen, who was collecting intelligence in the Tiangong Palace, immediately passed the news to Snow in the Styx Galaxy, and then Karl also got the news. "My God, do you need me to go to the Heavenly Palace to assist Huaya in controlling the Titans?" Snow asked Karl for instructions, but Karl waved his hand and said no. The Titans, as the leaders of the beast body civilization in the physical war, are not easy to conquer. And now it has reached a very critical time, and there is no time for Huaya to waste time. Let Karen build a space-time wormhole and let Huaya come here. I need to install a void engine for him in advance and let him enter the known universe as soon as possible to break the Angel's blockade on us. Karl's idea is simple. Since the devil can no longer attract the attention of Merlot Heavenly Court, then find a qualified one so that the angel has no time to care about anything else. Karl is very confident in his newly developed experimental void engine. Even if it is as powerful as an angel, it will definitely find it very difficult. And as long as there is enough time, he can develop a more powerful engine until he touches the essence of the void. At that time, angels will no longer be able to stop him from exploring the void. On the other side of Merlot Heaven, He-11 installed the second-generation secondary biological engine on the bodies of Angel Yan, Angel Leng, and his student Xin. Compared with the first generation, the second-generation secondary biological engine has more powerful computing power and has more diversified auxiliary capabilities for the bearer. In addition to being able to store energy to repair fatal injuries suffered by the bearer, it can also increase energy and disrupt physical rules to a certain extent. Of course, the specific extent to which it can be achieved and how to use it depends on the ability of the wearer. After all, Hexie does not have an enemy strong enough for her to experiment on. And He-11 plans to start developing the third generation of the sub-biological engine after collecting enough data, because she finds that this technology is very promising, but she has not realized all the potential of this technology yet. However, the materials for making sub-biological engines were somewhat rare, which forced He-11 to give up the idea of large-scale installation. But He-11 still proposed to Kesha to apply for installing sub-biological engines in the Merlot Guards. This matter is a top secret in the Merlot Heavenly Court, and no angel knows about it except the angels involved in this matter. Therefore, Karl did not know that Angel had begun to gradually catch up with the technology of the Void Engine. After hundreds of years of historical changes in China, under the secret guidance of the Dino survivors, the dynasty of China gradually transitioned from a feudal slave society to a modern social system. After realizing that the current ruling class was wise and enlightened enough, the Dino survivors chose to contact the ruling class and confess their identities. After more than 10 years of observation, China's ruling class was finally convinced that the aliens like the Dino survivors had no ill intentions towards China, and began to slowly trust these extraterrestrial visitors. At the same time, Ducao also told about the war that took place in China 1,000 years ago, and the fact that China was protected by angels. This made the ruling class of China feel a huge sense of crisis, because this is a true event that has been recorded in history, and was confirmed by the Binghua survivors. This undoubtedly told the ruling class of China that their country was not safe, and Ducao took the opportunity to launch his own God-making plan and future development strategy to the ruling class of China. That is to say, before the enemy invades, China must create its own main god and at the same time establish a planetary defense line to deter the extraterrestrial civilizations that covet China. As for the resources needed for the god-making plan, Ducao had already made plans in her mind. After all, China was the territory of the Heavenly Sword King, so she, the king, would always have his own ideas. When Angel Leng came to Chaiwu's star system in his free time as usual to see the current situation of China, he received communication information sent by Ducao through satellite outside the atmosphere of China. "Your Excellency Angel Leng, could you come down and have a chat?"